Now, there is a new initiative that has come out recently here in Perth, and it's the WA Police and Kurdish Perth Watch House Initiative. Now, to tell us more about what it's all about, joining us, we've got Gerry Georgatos.
Hello, Jeffrey. And it's been about a decade since we last shared an interview together. We used to go at it quite a bit the decade prior. I suppose a bit of background there with you. Gerry used to be at the Deaths in Custody Watch Committee. I was on lots of things, the Deaths in Custody Watch Committee. Just one of those things, the Refugee Rights Action Group, and all sorts of human rights and environmental causes. But and I've done a lot of work in all sorts of things. But that's some of my volunteer work, and a lot of ground was covered. A lot of sadness when I think about what people went through. Yeah. But you asked about the post-custody wellbeing service. So it's the Kurdish post-custody wellbeing service. It was piloted last year by us. WA Police, WAPOL, funded it, and the success of the project has led to it being continued on for another year and expanded, actually. So we've doubled the personnel. We work out of the Perth Watch House in James Street, and on the weekends only. So the ALS does the legal work during the week, Monday to Thursday, in also a custody wellbeing service. And we do a post-custody wellbeing service in supporting the people bailed, and many who get bailed because we're prepared to support them on the weekend. So we're in the weekend court, the magistrate's court next to the watch house. And about 90 people go through each day, and 30 to 35 of them are First Nations people, descendants of the First Peoples, and it's our proud honour to support as many as we can to change their circumstances best we can, to not offend again and to turn their lives around. Last year we had 23 people from all the people we engaged with. We engaged with 1,000 people, 500 people from the Watch House in 7 months.
Now, Gerry, you made an important note then where you said turn their lives around. What would you like to see in that regard?
To preface that, the 23 people we supported substantively did not reoffend at all in the 6-7 months that we supported the majority of them, and in the 3-4 months the fewer. We got them a lot of mentoring from us. I worked on a mentor-mentee approach, and our personnel worked on them on a regular basis. So they had a shoulder to lean on. They had us to lean on. We worked to get them counselling for AOD, alcohol and drug issues, and we worked to support them in retention to the counselling. We did work with Yorgum to support them with counselling, psychologists, and we took them through their intake assessments. We worked with Serenian and Palmerston, but Serenian especially, and Palmerston too. We got people into drug rehab at Days and other places, and we supported them through all their issues. We supported them legally to get legal support full blown, and also we did what we could to demonstrate to the court, those who had changed their circumstance, that the court understood that. So I wrote up to 5 or 6 letters in terms of any number of court appearances, and we had a high response of people who had been supported by us and who had turned their lives around, of them getting community-based orders or suspended sentences or not being incarcerated and released. And in some occasions charges were withdrawn, dismissed. But the police were responsible for funding the project, so there's huge kudos to them. We work to improve life circumstance, so we do all sorts of things. Outreach, we go to them, they come to us. We schedule visits and supports to all sorts of services. We secure housing secure housing for them to be accommodated so they're stable, so they've got that bedrock of humanity. And we get people to register training providers for employment prospects. So they do some training, get qualifications, tickets, and some into education. So,
now I understand this.
And that one thing, Jeff, those 23, 100% of them did not reoffend. And of the others that we supported moderately at 40 odd plus, 95% of them did reoffend. So what's happened now is the police have doubled up the funding, and we've got more personnel to support more people substantively.
Yeah, now, I understand this came from the custody notification service, which the ALS here in WA, if I'm correct in saying they started here, but they borrowed it the idea from, I think it was Sydney, New South Wales.
Yeah, it was enhanced from the custody notification service. The custody notification service, if people don't know, if I toot my horn a little bit...
Yeah, toot it.
Toot that horn. I'll toot that horn. The custody notification service in Western Australia, the Northern Territory and South Australia was brokered by myself with the Commonwealth. I got the Commonwealth to roll out 3 years of funding for it, and the states have put in a little bit extra. And that got the custody notification across the line, and I insisted that it be hosted by the Aboriginal Legal Services, which was the rightful recommendation from the Royal Commission of Aboriginal Deaths in Custody all those decades ago. And so the custody notification service works, it's in our watch houses. It's led to 0 deaths in police watch houses in WA where that service has been enabled, where the detainee takes it up. And lawyers work for the ALS specifically to de-escalate suicidality and anxiety, and they have a higher uptake of these individuals into legal representation, and also refer them to other services for health and welfare checks and screenings. So that stops black deaths in custody. That's what's got to be understood. So we've gone from a custody notification service now to a custody wellbeing service for people who are also bailed and people who are also released.
Yeah, so it's good stuff. Now, I suppose going back in time, can you tell us about some of the figures? Now, before you say that, now this discussion might be making you wonder what's going on. Now, there is a lifeline you can call, 13 11 14. Now, in the past, things weren't so good. Now, can you tell us, compare it to how things were to how things are now, Gerry?
Things aren't perfect. Things are better. And what we have is a port and call for individuals to get support, to not allow to happen what happened to Miss Dew, to not allow to happen what happened to Miss Mandajara and Broome, to not allow to happen what happened to Mr. Ward in that tragedy from Kalgoorlie, where he was cooked to death with 58 degrees of heat, which is just an abomination. All these deaths are an abomination. And I won't do the whole list of deaths in custody, but we don't have these horrid, negligent deaths where they're not getting the appropriate expertise to support them in terms of health and welfare and in terms of mental health.
So we are making a difference, or you guys are making a difference also.
Well, it's all of us, because I've got to actually throw a few kudos to Noongar Radio. Noongar Radio has actually raised funds for us, donations and all sorts of monies to actually, last weekend for instance, to take 50 salad rolls from IGA here in Northbridge and 50 drinks to our people leaving the prison, and that went down like it was just, people said, "Are you real? Is this for real? Is this serious?" I said, "Yeah, this is the project's thanks to WAPOL, to the police. It's good that they're doing this, but Noongar Radio made sure that these individuals leaving were nourished, and also 84 care packages were put together because of the funding from Noongar Radio by Coolidge, and those 84 care packages had hygiene and grooming essentials, but also track pants, jeans, clothing, and size to fit. So we actually had them all size to fit, so all of them would leave, and people were saying, "How good are you guys? How good are you guys?" And for me, it's sad, because I'd like to see it as rudimentary support for all people living and being validated and supported. But thanks, Noongar Radio.
So it's also got to toot the horn for Pay the Rent as
Absolutely.
Got to toot their horn as well.
Well, Pay the Rent has come through for the next 10 weeks, and they'll be ongoing thereafter, but we're doing it 10-week tranches, and they're going to fund the food. So it's all there prepared for them every Saturday and Sunday once they're released. And I've also got to toot the horn of all my colleagues. I won't name them all on this occasion. They're all well-known individuals. Some of them you'll hear at Invasion Day at the rally speaking, because they're also powerful advocates, and I think you all know who they are. But they've been working each week, each weekend on a roster, rotating the 8 personnel that we have for that project, doing their bit, supporting individuals coming out and encouraging them to take up the opportunity to turn their lives around and not reoffend. And we need more of this done, and and following the footsteps of what WAPOL has done in funding this, and hopefully it expands to all regions and not just Perth alone.
Okay, Gerry, and I suppose the most important part that you said there, turn their life around.
Turn their life around. If you're going to save lives, you have to change lives. And that brings me to another good stat that is really important, Jeff. And I'd like to mention that because suicide is what I've worked in, suicidality, for now 15 years. And I led the National Indigenous Critical Response Service in suicide prevention for 2.5 years, a decade back ago, and then I stood down. So I'd be succeeded after 2.5 years by a First Nations individual to make it an all-black service. But I got that off the ground, $15 million a year. And that was post-vention. And I saw suffering in children lost at ages 9 years of age, and the 3 youngest deaths in this country I've responded to and supported the families, and it's harrowing. It breaks my heart, and I've stayed up at nights late just imagining what I shouldn't imagine, and the unimaginable. But we have a rapid response service, and we implemented it. We initiated it on December 21 after the Mental Health Commission funded us to put in that service under social and emotional wellbeing to stabilise people who were through their suicidality. We did 400 critical assists during the Christmas stretch over 10 days. 400 critical assists, all our colleagues. In my case, 79 critical assists, in which 62 were outreach. I went to them. For the first time since the turn of the century, and even well before the turn of the century, there was no First Nations person, no descendant of the First Peoples in this state, in Western Australia, and in Perth, where we covered, where 75% of the deaths occur by suicide in Western Australia. No one passed away on Christmas Eve, and the 10 days before that, and on Christmas Day. And last year there were 2 on Christmas Day. And there was 1 on Christmas Eve, and there were 2 on Boxing Day. No one passed away till the 29th of December. So we went through an unheralded stretch of over 2 weeks, and that first Christmas stretch without a loss. So that's a positive. And we'd like to believe that we contributed to that with the 400 critical assists, with the specificity and the promise to the Mental Health Com that we would reduce it to 0, and we did. Because all up there were 6 deaths in those 3 days, and there's 1 death of a First Nations person every 6 days, and we did 15 days without. We need that intense type of support to continue at all times, and not just the Christmas stretch. But we're funded to pilot a program over the year, which is an aftercare model and an after-hours model. We're 24/7, and that was part of what we did at Christmas to make that difference or contribute to that difference.
Yeah. Okay, Gerry. Now, if you're wondering, or if that's what we're discussing is kind of stirring some emotions, there is some support services as well you can call. You can call 13 Yarn on 13 92 76, and of course Lifeline on 13 11 14. Well, thanks, Gerry, for letting us know about this.
I was hoping you'd keep me on for the next hour or so. I was just enjoying this. No, I'm only kidding. I understand.
Watch House initiative.
It's much needed. It's much needed. It's overdue, and it's a support that they need that they don't get. Quite a few people leave without any clothes, and they're in forensic suits, and they're leaving in their underwear and shorts, and people may not believe that that's the case, or their skirts, and we. To give them a bit of clothes, a bit of dignity, to be there with a bit of food is to say we care, and to be there thereafter and offer our hand is the least that we can do to give people a chance and never had that from the beginning of life.
Yeah, okay, Gerry, thank you very much for letting us all know about this awesome initiative, the WA Police and Kudich Perth Watch House initiative.
And
Thanks,
I'll just
Gerry.
finish it on this note.
Yeah.
Thank you, Noongar Radio, for the funding and the donations. Thank you, Pay the Rent. You're awesome, and you've always come through for us.
Yeah, thanks, Gerry.
Kaya, kaya nanonot,